Cubs lost to the Dodgers in both games in that Tokyo series. We're going to talk about some positives that the Cubs can take out of that as the spring training cranks back up and the Cubs head towards playing Arizona to start the regular season. But it was a record-setting series. You knew it would be with some of the big stars in Japan. That's cool, too. So we'll get into all that right here on the Cubs Baseball channel. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. And as I say every day, go Cubs. Let's get this thing started. Everybody, I'm Mick Gillespie at Broadcaster Mick on the socials, and it really is great to see you guys here today as we talk Cubs baseball on a daily basis. Now, I'm in Las Vegas. You know that. I told you guys I was going to be here for March Madness and Dead and Company because, you know, I'm a deadhead. But today, I'm talking Cubs. I'm going to do it the entire time I'm here because I'm going to work and vacay with you guys at the same time. And then, look, I'm hurting just like everybody else after watching the Cubs lose to the Dodgers 6-3 in Japan and get swept in the Japanese series. Now, I'm not surprised. I'm not going to sit here and BS you. I didn't think the Cubs would win a game there. I just didn't. You know, the Dodgers lineup's better. But if you'd have told me that Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman were going to be out and we'd still get swept, I might change my mind. The bottom of the Cubs lineup was actually better than the middle of the lineup, which is kind of surprising to me because you look at the bottom of the lineup, you're like, there's not a lot there. Nobody really hit there, though. And the Dodgers found ways to score. Their pitching was a little bit better. And the Cubs, in the game yesterday, constantly had guys on base. And Sasaki couldn't throw strikes, and they still couldn't cash in on it. Like they walked the guy in, Tucker walked the guy in. You got to drive runs in when a pitcher's flailing like that, and they just didn't do it. But honestly, and I think you guys will agree with me, it's kind of been a signature of this particular Cubs team. You go back and talk about the World Series teams, you start walking guys, they're going to get you. These guys don't get you. They just haven't. They had a stretch there 2 years ago around when they were all going to get traded that they started playing well. And then, when it came to the end of the season, they fell apart. Last year, they were inconsistent. This year, it's 2 games. And why I'm saying that is that they've got to shake the 2024 personality of this team and get to 2025. What's 2025 going to look like? Because that looked a lot like 2024 to me. You're scoring because you get an infield hit and 3 walks, but nobody drives any runs in. If the Cubs would have gotten some runs driven in at that point, they might have won the game. And for some of you guys are like, you're so critical. Look, I've been a fan of the Cubs since the 80s. I've unfortunately come to expect this. But it's 2 games. It's not that big a deal. It's just it's not the loss. It's just about the way that you do the things that you need to do. Now, I will say this is really cool. That everybody in Japan was watching the game, and what I love about Japan is they've been a huge baseball country for a long time, right? But it's just cool to see that they have really embraced, not just their baseball, but Major League Baseball. Can you imagine, like, if 2 teams from Japan came and played in the United States, would people watch it? Would anyone pay attention? Like if it was like, the Ham Fighters and the Tigers, that over there or something, no, I don't know that anybody would really respect what that meant enough to really watch it on television. Now, the difference is we have the biggest stars that played in Japan, that are now part of the Major League Baseball league. And they got 25 million people in Japan alone to watch this. So that's a fifth of the nation's population. Thank you, Brett. Or actually that's Deacon at Cubs SI. But I mean, like, think about that, man. Good research there. 25% of the population watch Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto and Sasaki and Imanaga and Suzuki play in this series. That is really incredible. I mean, when you think about it, right? So they blew the record away for that. It's the most watched baseball event in Japan's history. I guess there was a 1978 Japanese high school baseball championship that had 51% of the households, right? There's just a lot more TVs now. It's crazy just to think that people wanted to see this matchup so much. But, I mean, you're talking about not just the biggest stars on the Dodgers and the Cubs, but the biggest stars in the game of baseball right now. So kudos, man. Kudos all the way around on the event. Craig Counsell was like, hey, the results weren't great, but the experience was something we'll never forget. And I'm jealous. I would love to have been out there and experienced what the Cubs and the Dodgers just did. But it's good for the game. You know, and they used to do a lot more of this stuff, and then they stopped doing it, and then and as much as we might give Commissioner Manfred a lot of grief for different stuff, one of the best things he's done is bring these exhibitions back. I've said it before, but you got to get the game in front of people. And that's it. You know, whether it's in Japan or it's in Alabama or it's in Iowa or it's in Pennsylvania, wherever you do, and you get the game in front of people, baseball is the best game that's ever been invented. And once you get around it and you kind of start to figure out how awesome the game is, you're going to love it. That's why baseball's got to get the game out there. And the guys are paid so much, they don't want to do it, but you got to make them. And that's what, you know, having, you know, two teams that are full of Japanese stars, they couldn't wait to get their teammates out there, and they put on a spectacular. So it was really good, man. Thumbs up to Major League Baseball, to the Cubs and the Dodgers, because this was a win. This was a winner, and I love this stuff. So thank you, guys. All right, in the game, Kyle Tucker got his first hit. Kyle Tucker's going to have to get a lot of hits, because that trade to me is just looking, you know, when you really start to evaluate the impact of that particular trade on this year's team and the organization down the road, it's not good. I mean, you know, you're talking about giving up your first round pick, an all-star third baseman. Then you sold Cody Bellinger to the Yankees and sent $5 million with him. And then you got a guy back that, I mean, might pitch or might not. It's, you know, all in all, Tucker's got to have a really, really big year to like kind of pay this contract off. But even more so, you look at the lineup, and I know Nico wasn't in the lineup, but it's not a lineup that really scares you. You look at the Dodgers, they were without two of their former MVP players, and they're still able to score runs every day. The Cubs just, you know, not generating a whole lot of offense. Now, one guy that they have to have step up is Matt Shaw. He got an infield hit for his first major league hit. You know, we were curious about Shaw. Was he going to be able to make it on, you know, to the team with his, you know, the injury he had at the beginning of the season? Yeah, he did. And faced a couple of really tough pitchers. Got his first major league hit. But the Cubs are really investing in Shaw. You know, the question is going to be, Shaw's in, obviously. What's going to happen with Gage Workman? That's a question that I'm really curious to see, because the roster that the Cubs sent to Japan isn't necessarily the roster that they're going to send to Arizona. You got to be down from 31 to 26 players, and Workman's one of those guys that if he's not on a 26-man roster, you got to send him back to the Tigers. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how that kind of transpires between now and then. But, you know, there were some things in the series. First off, Shohei Ohtani had hit the home run that was interfered with. Justin Steele struck a guy out. They missed it. I'm so sick. And you guys, some of you guys want to debate me on this. I hate when people say the human element. Get that crap out of here. We've got the technology to fix, you put the box up there, the ball's in the middle of the box, and the umpire calls it a ball. And then the next guy hits it. The next pitch is a 2-run homer. Those are game-changing missed calls by the umpires. So, that's what I'm saying. They matter. They're important. And at the end of the day, missed calls change games. And I don't know that the Cubs would have won or lost, but Steele deserved that strike 3 to be called when they missed it. And, here we are 0-2, and then we get to go back and do more exhibition games before the regular season. But all in all, my thoughts on the series, Cubs offense look exactly the same anemic offense that we saw last year, where they just can't score runs. They get runners in scoring position and they don't do anything with it. Justin Tucker wasn't anything special in those 2 games compared to Cody Bellinger. And then all of a sudden you start to look and you go, we gave up a lot for this guy. He better step up and make something happen. And I know that's a lot of pressure on him, but it's not just the Cody Bellinger deal. Yeah, I talked about it. It's Paredes and Cam Smith for this guy for 1 year. So you're expecting him to be big. But you know what? He can do that. I mean, it's 2 games in Japan. I mean, it's not the end of the world. But it would have been nice to win one of them. Would have been nice to leave the island with all the sushi and everything else, your sake and, the good times with a dub. The Cubs didn't do that. But the Dodgers did. And that's going to be not only the World Series champs, but they're the king of baseball right now. They got the best roster. So you got to beat those teams just to kind of know that you're kind of on the same level as them. So anyway, look, that's where we are right now. We'll do it again tomorrow. We'll start to kind of gear things back up. Look at this roster. We start looking at rosters again because it matters. Some changes could happen. Spring training cranks back up again. These guys start to get better. Nico Horner, obviously, is going to be ready for opening day. That's going to change something. And, we'll see. And what's the bullpen look like? And what's the starting rotation? We don't really have the 5th starter yet. Ben Brown pitched. He didn't look great, but, they're going to hold that against him. We'll get on a lot moving forward here on the Cubs baseball channel. But thank you guys for hanging out. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. We had 2 real games. You gotta appreciate that. We got 2 games in, and we're not even to April. But thank you guys. I really want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, man. Thank you for being part of the Cubs baseball channel, and I love you. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, and comment. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.